Will, thank you very much for doing the show today. I'm super excited to chat with you and pick your brain about some stuff and share your story to some people. So yeah, thanks very much for doing this, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
Right on. So with that, so just for context, give some people a bit about your history and your timeline. Take us through kind of from leaving post-secondary school, like that transitional time for you to where we are now. We can kind of go back through it full circle.
Yeah, so I graduated high school in 2011, so 12 years ago. I'm 30 now. So I went to the University of North Dakota, played football there, got a degree in kinesiology. I originally wanted to do criminal justice. Um, Ended up just switching to kinesiology for a few different reasons. So I finished playing football at UND in 2015, then had a really short-lived playing career. Uh, Short stints with the Falcons, the Chiefs, and Saskatchewan Roughriders in the CFL. And then after my playing career was over, I got a job back at my alma mater at North Dakota as a strength and conditioning coach. And that's where I've been since. So I've been coaching here since 2018. So just finished up year 5, I think, if I'm doing the math right.
Nice. Right
Yeah.
on. How did you end up getting back into strength and conditioning coaching? Like how'd they hire you? What was that process like? Were you always
So
kind of hoping for it or
yeah, I got really lucky. So like the route I took was a lot easier than what most people have to take. So in strength and conditioning, I guess with like all coaching, whatever sport you're involved with,
yeah.
it really is all about who you know and what kind of connections you have, more than what you know and the type of value you can bring to a department. But so I just happened to be so I happened to just like retire, I guess, from football
Yeah.
at the perfect time where there was an opening for a strength and conditioning coach position at UND. And so my current boss, he was my strength and conditioning coach at UND.
Oh,
And
sweet.
so he knew I just kind of made the decision to stop playing football. He reached out to me and said, "Hey, we have this opening. You want the job?" So I didn't even have to go through an interview process or anything with them. I just had to like there's just some like formalities I had to go through with like applying for a job and all that kind of stuff. But it was lucky. So I just applied for it. I knew I was going to get the job right away. And that's how I kind of fell into it, which is a lot easier than most people. Most people have to go to like an internship or do a GA somewhere, travel around the country to a few
Yeah.
different locations before they can get a full time job. So I just got really lucky and grateful for it because I've been able to just be in Grand Forks my whole life, basically, my last 12
Nice.
years, basically.
That's sweet. It sounds like it like lined up pretty well for you. That's awesome. That's cool to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't complain about that.
No, so what I'm curious about in that is how did you so how I kind of first got like identified by it was a good friend of mine, Joe, showed me like we were doing different athletic trainings. We were like trying to build up like just a good athletic base onto what we already were doing, whether it be some of us were training like in this gym. I train out a bunch of us do like different things, whether it be like some of them do kickboxing, some of them want to bodybuild, some of them want to power lift, some of them Olympic weight lift. Like I train a lot of like submission grappling and wrestling. And I'm also running a marathon next weekend.
Oh,
So
nice.
it's yeah, I'm terrified. But anyways, beside the point. So yeah, all that stuff is kind of like mixed together and we're trying to like figure out like we don't want to waste time training and stuff like that. And then we want to do like these like athletic stuff, right? And kind of build that. And he kind of that's where he like my buddy focused and was like, yo, check this guy out. Like you'll get a kick out of this. I was like, oh yeah. Like what was one exercise I did recently? I think you call it a monkey press.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I got into that lately. That was it was horrendous. They're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Yo, try this." And they're like, "No,
Yeah.
brutal."
I stole that from Range of Strength. You know who that is?
Yeah, I know of,
Aaron
yeah.
Lucas. Yeah. 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 I stole that from him. I saw him doing it. I was like, I got to do
Damn, I really like tried it and I was like, "Geez, man, some people are having trouble just hanging on one arm. You're
that.
gonna
Right.
press what? You know what, 90 pounds above your head?" I was like, "Jesus, get
Yeah.
out of here." So that was yeah, that was wild. So what I want to know is these are so stuff's been very like I've never seen stuff like it or I've seen stuff that's similar, but how did you formulate kind of like your authentic training style and how did you incorporate all that stuff? Like how do you pick all that up? Do you just a lot of research on different things, a lot of trial and error and see what works or
I wish I could really say. I don't really know. I mean, I've been training for a really long time now. I guess I like started seriously training and like training for with a purpose when I got to college. So 12 years ago. So 12 years, I guess. But no, like I have a good background. I know how to do all the Olympic weightlifting movements. I can probably do a lot of gymnastic movements, or I could at least pick up those skills pretty quickly. I'm really good with the barbell. I can deadlift, back squat, front squat. All of the like lifting stuff. I have pretty good foundation with. I have a good athletic background. I can jump, sprint. I just have like a really good athletic background, and like I'm right now with training. I guess I'm not really training with a purpose. Like I don't have a specific goal in mind,
Right.
but I don't want to just do the same shit over and over and over again because
It
like
gets
it's really
boring.
boring.
Yeah,
So like
very.
it's a hobby. It's a hobby for me. Um, and I kind of recognize at 30 years old, like I'm probably not gonna like the amount of effort it's gonna take for me to like add 5 or 10 or 15 pounds to my back squat. It's gonna be a lot of effort, and there's gonna be some cost to that effort that
Yeah.
I put into it. So it's just like coming up with other ways to like demonstrate and express and train these different qualities of strength, power, speed, explosiveness, all these different things. So a lot of it's just kind of like due to I don't want to say boredom, but trying to be more creative to make training more fun and more engaging and
Yeah.
get more enjoyment out of it. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, I love just back squatting, but there's times where it's like shit, like kind of want to do something different. So I'm gonna like make something else up that's similar in movement pattern, similar in like application of load, but still a little bit different to make it a new challenge. Um, so like yeah, there's no like research going on in the background with some of the stuff that I do. It's just kind of like a lot of it's just make it up on my own. And I have like a good community of people online that we kind of all make shit up with together, and then we'll tag each
Yeah.
other in it and say, "Hey, try this out." And
And just bounce it all back.
it's just like trying to have fun with it because I want to train till I'm like 90 years old. You
Yeah.
know, I want to do this till I'm dead. So I'm not just going to do back squat RDLs my whole life. Got to
No.
figure out ways to
Yeah.
continue to make it enjoyable. And then the other thing with it is too, like I'm sure there's a lot of people that kind of get stuck in the mud, spinning their wheels, not seeing a lot of progress with training, and then they kind of get this like black pilled kind of mentality around it. And I think when I'm able to post me doing something that's just like novel, um, it allows people to see that there's more to it than just like the basics. You always hear like stick to the basics, consistency with the basics. That's
Yeah.
what's going to get you the best results.
Yeah.
But like, I mean,
Fundamentals.
that it's like true, but it's also there's a point beyond that, you know,
Right.
to make it more engaging. So
So with that being said, it sounds like so it sounds like longevity is kind of at the forefront of your approach. Maybe not with
for
each
sure,
exercise, but like definitely for like, okay, I want to work out till I die. I don't want to die because of the way I worked out. Right. You don't
yeah.
want right. So with that, if somebody's like, in their like late teens, early 20s, and they're like just getting into it, maybe say they have like a little bit of background in like athletics or something, or like they did different high school sports, but nothing too crazy competitive, how would you kind of instill like getting physically fit or building a good athletic base in the beginning stages of their life to kind of set them up for that longevity, even though we all know that you want to look big, you want to get big and all that, but still remain athletic and strong? Like, what's the good baseline to start from nothing?
Uh, I think, I mean, so we're assuming that these people are already lifting weights, right?
Mhm.
Just continue, like, do things that are athletic that aren't necessarily weight room based. Go
Right.
sprint, go play sports, go sprint, go jump, go do parkour on a Saturday afternoon for an hour. Like that'll keep you athletic and young. I guess that would be like like the baseline, like
Yeah.
the starting point. Just go do athletic things and then continue lifting weights and continue to do both. Do like the formal exercise and do the informal exercise. And if you can always merge those two things, you're probably going to be in a path to success.
Nice. That makes yeah, that makes sense. It's trying to I know now with there's too much information, especially when it's related to physical fitness and stuff like that. Like everywhere you go is different. Try these three moves out for man. I was just looking the other day for bigger triceps, like how to get bigger triceps. Dude, the information that's out there is like too much, right? It's
Yeah.
very overwhelming, especially when you don't already have like a baseline of what works for you. So what I'm wondering is how do you decipher what you see, like what's good, what isn't? Is it like similar to what you mentioned earlier, where it's just you have that community and you get creative, or do you like see stuff and you're like, this could work, but let's move it? Like, how do you decipher what's good and what's just garbage?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, you can kind of see if like something that whatever you're looking at, whatever the exercise is or the method of training it is, you can see if there's like foundational principles
Yeah.
that it's built upon. And if you can like see the foundational principles, it's probably a good thing. Then the other things like just ask yourself, like, what is the stimulus? Whatever you're watching, can you look at the exercise that you see on social media or you see someone doing in the gym, whatever it is, can you look at that activity and say, this stimulus is providing the stimulus that's going to elicit some sort of adaptation. If that is
Mm.
like a pretty clear thing that you can see, it's probably good. If you have to like, there's like a ton of nuance behind it and you have to get super detailed explaining like the biomechanics of a certain exercise, it probably isn't a very potent stimulus that's going to drive much adaptation at all. And in which case, I would recommend doing other things that are probably more effective.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Do you what I'd like to figure out, and then I'm sure you can help me with. So I've seen this in real time, and I'm sure you have countless times, especially much more than me. But I see the ability or how a trainer looks like in person directly affect how many or how successful they are with getting clients. And I mean just getting them in the door, right? So what I want to know is like what's the baseline of like for strength and conditioning coach that you believe somebody should be? That could be like how Jack does a strength and
Mm,
conditioning coach need to be, or what do they need to look like in order to kind of fit? Because I feel you can have a very strong, not too big. Like if I look like I'm bigger and stronger than this guy, why should I take his like getting bigger and stronger advice? Right. That's just
yeah,
curious. What's a good baseline for that for people who are even wondering?
I definitely think there's something to looking the part for gaining other people's trust.
Mm.
That's for sure true. But like, I don't know, because you could be like, I would trust someone who's like kind of a fat power lifter if they can demonstrate like high competency in the squat bench deadlift.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
gonna assume they like understand some other parts of training too.
The
You
end
know,
mechanics and stuff.
yeah, or if someone's been like a dedicated bodybuilder, but they're not athletic, but they're ripped, low body fat percentage and jacked. They probably understand some principles of training that they can apply to other realms of
Mm.
strength and conditioning, sports science, sports performance, whatever it is. No, there's definitely an element of like if you look the part in some way, you probably understand like physical fitness under this wider umbrella, I guess.
Yeah.
No, but like I guess I don't even really remember what the question was, but I definitely think that it's important to look the part in some way.
Yeah.
And yeah, did that answer your question? I don't
Yeah,
even know.
absolutely. Yeah. I was just curious, like, what's the like how jacked do you need should you be? Like what's a good baseline?
Yeah, well, like
That's your
if
question. Yeah, you answered it pretty well. So
obviously, obviously, if someone's jacked, that doesn't necessarily mean that
no, not at
they
all.
know. But like as a 16-year-old kid, if you look at an obese individual who may have like an understanding of physiology and science, or you look at some meathead who's jacked, you're probably gonna side with the meathead and the jacked guy on
Yeah.
what works in training, which I wouldn't like blame the 16-year-old kid for that, you
Yeah.
know? So yeah.
I think it's also I found too interesting is it aligns with what your goals are, right? Like if I want my
Mhm.
goals to be, it's like that old saying of like, oh, if you don't ask somebody for advice on something that you don't that they haven't done themselves,
Yeah,
right? It's just
for
like,
sure.
oh, you can't ask this person about real estate investing if they've never done it. Or like that, how is
Right.
what's it like to run a marathon if they haven't ran cross country or anything or track and
Yeah,
field? So it's very,
exactly.
very, yeah, I think that's kind of what I know a lot of like younger people as well. Part of my audience is that age group, like late teens, early mid 20s. And that's the focus of like, oh man, we want to get bodybuilding, look good, girls. That's the kind of that's the mentality, that's the goal. So when they see people that maybe don't fit what they want to look like, giving them advice, it's harder for them to take it or like
Yeah,
listen.
actually, and it kind of bothers me actually when I see like so in college strength and conditioning, this is so common. Like the director of strength and conditioning in like NCAA, they're like almost always obese, which is kind of crazy to me. Like
Mhm.
your job is to promote, not necessarily to promote health and wellness, but
Like,
it's under that umbrella,
yeah.
right? Like, and then I see some of these guys. Like we just went to our annual conference in Orlando at the beginning of the month. In yeah, May 8th, I think is when I went. Um, and you see these guys who are like in their mid 40s. They probably used to train, but now like they're directors of strength and conditioning at big
Yeah.
time schools, and they're obese. And it's like, why? Like when they get freshmen coming in to
Yeah.
their program, freshmen and sophomores, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, the likelihood of those kids looking up at the director of strength and conditioning who's obese, the likelihood of them looking up and respecting their
Yeah.
knowledge base is just so much less than what it could be if they were just in pretty decent shape. So actually, like it does kind of bother me when I see like strength and
Yeah.
conditioning coaches who are obese. Or the other thing I don't like, and this may make me sound like a dick a little bit, but
That's all
like
right. Go off. It's your episode.
I think there's a lot of strength and conditioning coaches who aren't very athletic, and it's not that I don't like them because they're not athletic,
Right.
but they gravitate towards the weight room because that's where they found success,
Right.
understandably so.
Safe space,
And
I guess.
now, what's that?
It's like safe space, I guess. Like it might be a
Yeah, yeah.
comfort
So now
zone.
they gravitate to the weight room, and of
Yeah.
course that's their job now is to be like a weight room coach, which is fine. But then there's a total disconnect that they have between sport performance and weight room stuff, and then they think
Uh,
weight room stuff is always going to help the sports performance side, and there's obviously a benefit to it, like it helps in some areas,
yeah.
but then they do not understand sports performance at all. They can't sprint very well, they can't jump very, they can't bound. um yeah, that kind of bothers me too.
What do you think is a good healthy way to kind of merge the two? Like how do you yourself like merge the two from like the gym and the actual like sport? Because there's like what I was curious about, and I was thinking about this for the last few days on like the best way to ask you this. I'm sure you can decipher kind of the question from this, but it's there's the old saying or additive where we the more you do the skill, it's like why if you want to get better at jujitsu, do more jujitsu. You want to get better at soccer, play more soccer. It's like, well, you want to get better at basketball, play basketball more. You want to get better at dunking, dunk more. But where does the strength and conditioning supplement properly? Like where does it supplement the skill base? Because you can't just only do the skill. There is a strength and
Right.
conditioning
Yeah.
component to it, right? How does that connect? Like, how do you bridge that gap between the two?
Okay, so I can only speak for myself. I don't know what
Yeah.
other people do, but I think what really helps me when I'm trying to connect or yeah, connect with the athletes I work with is they do see that I like play basketball and I can dunk a basketball and I can like they see that I participate in actual sport and I'm not just a weight room person.
Right.
So I feel like that does help me build some buy-in and trust with my athletes because they know that I'm not just a weight room guy, so that when I do talk to them about performance or weight room stuff, I guess,
Yeah.
or like their sport, they kind of intuitively trust me a little bit more than someone who just does squat, bench, deadlift.
Yeah.
So like being active outside of the weight room, trying to participate in other sports, I think definitely helps me with that. So I can't speak on anyone else, but I think that's my experience a little bit.
That sounds like a really good, like, baseline takeaway that other trainers can do, which is like, hey, show people and show clients of yours or athletes of yours that you do the advice that you're, or the criticism or whatever feedback, like you do that for yourself. Like, oh, yeah, you should get out, do more hill sprints. It's like, well, when was the last time you did a hill sprint?
Yeah,
And it's like, well, hey, look at me doing hill sprints. Yeah, hill sprints help with XYZ. Yeah, I think it's like it's genius to think, but I think that's it has to be the leading by example at the end of the day, right? It just sounds like,
hmm,
hey, this is what I do. I am practicing what I'm preaching. So
right.
you should too. I'm not like, hey, you do all this stuff and I just don't do it either. Like, how would I know if it's beneficial for you or not? Right. So I
Yeah,
think I like that. It's like you have to be doing it yourself in order to showcase that it's worthwhile listening to, I guess.
yeah, for sure.
So With that, you have I'd like you to break this down for me a bit more. So growing up, I was really in whenever I go to the weight room, I was really into like accessory work after like my deadlifts or after my squats or after my bench press. And I'm curious, and I have it here. And why I'm laughing is because it says I have like waste of time next to accessories. So I'm curious, what is your take on accessory work, at least when it pertains to like athletes training, strength and conditioning for performance?
Yeah, I think, geez, I don't want to just make an absolute claim or anything, but
Mhm.
generally speaking, well, when you say accessory work, can you define that? Like, or give an example of what an accessory exercise would be? Because to me, it's all accessory.
Right.
Even like a deadlift would be an accessory exercise to them
Okay.
getting better at basketball. You know what I mean? Or are
Yeah.
you talking about like what a step up? A step up is like an accessory to a squat. Is
No,
that kind of what you're?
no. So I'm more thinking like single arm shoulder raises or lateral press or stuff that isn't the big compound movements
Okay.
or that aren't related to like plyos and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would. So I would agree. Like, I think most of that is kind of a waste of time.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely certain within certain narrow circumstances, I would prescribe that kind of stuff, but very rarely. Because like going back to like what's the stimulus of the exercise? Like how potent of a stimulus can a single arm lateral raise be to the entire organism compared to just like an overhead press with a barbell? Like you're going to
Mm.
get more bang for your buck with an overhead press, like a heavy overhead
Yeah.
press compared to a lateral raise or something like that. So I think, yeah, generally because from an athlete's perspective, you want to be time efficient and cost efficient. So if you can get like a pretty potent stimulus, only doing a couple of exercises and only having to do a couple of sets of those exercises, that's probably where you should put your emphasis on in the weight room.
Mm.
You know,
No, that makes sense. What I'd like to know a bit more about is take me through kind of your career before the internet and like online coaching. Like how long developing a profile and stuff before you got into like launching programs and stuff, and take me through kind of like that, and then we can jump into the transition to that because I think that's fascinating.
yeah, dude. So I started at UND as assistant strength and conditioning coach in 2018. COVID happened. So like in 2018 and 2019 and then early 2020, um, I'd followed a bunch of like online fitness or online sports and performance accounts like Jake Tur, I'm sure you're familiar, him, Austin Yoka, and there's plenty of them. I could go down the list, Flexible, whatever. And I'd see all of them, the stuff that they post. And I was always like, man, I should start to get into that because it's going to produce a little bit of like passive income for me.
Yeah.
But I had like this imposter syndrome where like, what would other people think of like, am I going to
Oh
be a
yeah.
trusted store, like trusted resource of information?
Yeah.
Just all these self doubts, whatever. Then COVID came, and I was like, I was laid off for a bit or furloughed, I guess. Um, so my income was basically cut in half. Wasn't making much money with my salary position at the university, anyways. So I was like, well, shit, I better do something like what time that was.
That like early
I was
COVID, like early
engaged at that
2020.
time.
Oh,
Yeah, so I
nice.
was engaged, getting ready to get married, and it's like, well, I need to be a man and
Yeah.
like step up and start
Hell yeah.
providing
Nice.
some, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being a
Absolutely.
provider. So then I started doing Instagram and YouTube. I had no idea like what my voice was going to sound like, how I was going to communicate my message. And just like over time, I've
Yeah.
curated it so that like I do have a certain way of speaking online now that I think has worked pretty well. But it was such a slow process, dude. Like I think I started online posting content, I think in like April of 2020, because there was nothing going on. I was sitting on my ass at home. And so I started just posting stuff on Instagram and YouTube, and like over time just sort of built and built and built, and then really I got lucky with a couple of posts on Instagram where like I gained like 3,000 followers in a couple of weeks, and like you'd see these spikes just on
Yeah.
like random posts. And yeah, I mean it was a slow build with some spikes in there, but over time I just got more comfortable putting my ideas out. now I'm kind of at the point where I don't really care what other people think. I'm just gonna say what I want to say.
Nice.
But at the time, so like early when I started, I didn't really care too much about what most people thought, but I cared about like what other professionals in the industry would think,
Yeah.
which is the worst thing to do because I'm not posting to gain clients from other fitness professionals, you
Right.
know, like that shouldn't be my targeted audience.
No.
But I'm letting that kind of mentality of, well, what are my peers
Uh,
gonna think? What if they
yeah.
call me out for saying something wrong? Things like that. And so that held me back a little bit. But over time you get over that. And then
Mhm.
you just start saying whatever you want to say, which is where I'm at now. And yeah, did that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. I like that a lot. It's funny. It's
Yeah.
funny though. Circle back to something you said a couple seconds ago. It's funny you mentioned like, oh, them like messaging you or something or calling you out for saying, oh, is that wrong? It's like you do that on your videos. Like you've done that
Right.
in the past. So that's hilarious for you to say. That's awesome. I just think that's so funny. They're like, hey, so don't, I'm afraid of this, but I'm also that person because I need people to like be correct, right? And you're like, hey, this is
Yep.
information that's going out to the public. I need to make a shift now and like tell people, like, hey, like stop doing this. Like this is why it's bad. This is the science behind it. And I mentioned it off camera, but I'll do it again now. I was like, I like your videos, how concise they are. They're very clear. They're direct. They're just like, hey, here's the information. It's short. It's digestible. It's boom. That's it. It's nice and
Yeah.
easy.
That took me a long time to get to. Like my first, if you I don't recommend going back and looking at my old YouTube videos because some of them are like 9 minutes long. They're
Yeah.
terrible. And I'm just like beating a dead horse with certain information. Now I've kind of now I like understand. I'll sit in front of a camera and speak for like 15 to 20 minutes, but I know what stuff to take out to keep it concise but still get the message across. Where like 3 years ago, I was trying to fit in every single piece of information, regardless of how important or significant it was,
Yeah.
out there. And now, so do you follow Angus Bradley?
No.
Okay, he's an awesome account to follow. But he said, I saved this Instagram post. This is from a while back, and it was like, you can either have context or you could have actionable information. Like
Ooh.
the medium is the message. And it's like that's
Yeah.
so perfect. So now I'm just gonna like provide the actionable information, and then the audience can decide under which contexts that information is applicable. So like
Okay.
before, I was trying to provide context and the information, and
Yeah.
it makes for shitty content.
It's tough to digest. Yeah.
And no one wants to watch a video on Instagram that's 6 minutes long. Keep it to like
Yeah.
30 seconds, you know?
Yeah.
So like put the actionable information out there. If they can't figure out in which context they can apply that information, that's like their problem,
It
not
is.
mine.
Yeah. It's like that's not
So
your
yeah,
target audience.
that's kind of where I'm at now. Yeah. So Angus Bradley, he'd be a great person to chat with. He's awesome.
Yeah. Do you know him personally?
No, I mean we've like messaged on
Oh,
Instagram,
okay. Yeah.
but no, I've never. Well, we have spoken before. Yeah, because I was on. He has a podcast. I was on his podcast
Oh, yeah.
just
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
time.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
he's great,
Yes.
dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll reach out afterwards. That's wild. That's cool. Yeah. I like that though. How did you, along the process of creating videos and stuff, what was something that you made, especially, and we'll focus on a bit like videos for like personal training and stuff like that. With this, but I'm curious, what was something that you like learned or picked up along the way that just like immediately switched where you're like, oh, I don't care. I don't care anymore what people think. I have my audience. I figured it out. This is the lane. And then you notice the confidence in your voice. Like, what was that, I guess, defining moment
Yeah.
for
I don't
shifting
think there
mode?
was. I think it was gradual.
Yeah.
Um, because now like my YouTube videos are like a minute and a half now. Sometimes they go a little bit longer, but like if you go month to month from like April 2020 to now, you'll see like 9 minutes. 3 months later, it gets to like seven and a half
Yeah.
minutes. Then 5 minutes, then 4 minutes, then 3 minutes. And then like over time, they just started getting shorter and shorter and shorter. I think it was just kind of a gradual progression of like now I know how much information to give, how to deliver it, how to communicate it. I don't think there was a defining moment.
Just a consistency built the confidence up.
Consistency, yeah, and practice. Um, meeting Jake Tura and Austin Yoakum was really helpful for me too because those are two guys that I really looked up to. Then I met them in person. Would have been like summer of 2021, and Jake knew. both of them kind of have the mentality of they're just going to post what they want to post. They don't really care what anyone else thinks
Love it.
too.
Yeah.
You follow those two guys?
I know of, yeah, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know, yeah.
they're really cool dudes. And then when I met them in person, just got to know them, I kind of picked up on that's their mentality. And it's like, wow, I should probably adopt that mentality too. So, yeah.
Nice. That's cool. That's cool. Who would you say is of all like in your terms of your strength and conditioning career, who is somebody that you think has had the most like impact on you? It could be whether from like a mentor or a coach or something like that, or an athlete you played with or competed with or taught or coached. But do you have anybody that stands out?
Yeah, it's probably Jake, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
Just yeah, like his not really giving a shit attitude.
With
And
everything.
just like, yeah. And it's
Nice.
that can be interpreted in a negative way, in like very
Right.
positive way. Um, yeah. Definitely I
Yeah.
think it's definitely Jake. Yeah.
Oh, sick. Okay, sweet. Well, it's definitely in a positive way, I can imagine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I find when it comes to like strength and conditioning coaches and then switching online platform and stuff. Do you have anybody, or not anybody, sorry, but anything that you would like recommend or tell somebody, be like, hey, I made this mistake at the beginning. Don't make it if you're going to start doing content. Because I know a handful of different strength and conditioning coaches that are kind of getting into that space, or they're like wanting to, but it seems like, but you're doing it, like you've done it and you're doing it. What is some advice that you learned that you would give to them? Be like, hey, make sure you do this or stay away from that.
Yeah. There's a few things. So one, don't cite research. I don't think
Ooh,
anybody I don't think anybody really cares about the research. And
interesting.
like to be honest, I try to do like the citing research, uh Johnson et al. 2016 reference things like that.
Yeah,
Uh like don't start cross-referencing stuff. I think that kind of makes you look less competent. Like people think it might
yeah,
make them look more competent because they're citing research, but really it's like you're just kind of appealing to authority
yeah,
and
yeah. The opposite.
not really having confidence in your own ideas. So that's one.
Ooh, interesting.
And there's probably some subjects that you could cite research on. Like I still do it every once in a while if I like feel like I have to for some odd reason. But that would be one. Don't just start citing research. Uh, what else? Try to not regurgitate um, ideas that have been well known for a while. Like for example, I make fun of the whole like you should get 8 hours of sleep thing because I learned that in like first grade. Like
Yeah,
everyone knows that you should get sleep, and so people actually like message me asking if I'm like anti-sleep. It's like no, I'm not anti-sleep, but
yeah,
like you don't need to make an Instagram post explaining why 8 hours of sleep is important. Like everyone knows that. So
yeah,
like things like that, or like what else? Creatine. Like there's already been so much stuff on creatine. You don't need to make another post on
yeah,
creatine. Like everyone already knows that stuff. Try to find more niche topic that maybe isn't necessarily talked about as much, which can be really hard to do. And then sometimes you're kind of fishing for content, and then that ends up not being good content too. I
hmm
don't know. I think one, yeah, stay away from the research. Just have your own ideas. Um, and try to not regurgitate certain subjects that have been well known for a long time. Try to stay away from like textbook. Try not to sound like a textbook.
right.
And
Like you don't want to sound like you memorized a passage and you're just reading it in a
yeah,
sentence. Yeah,
yeah. I could definitely, I don't want to do this now because it'll take too much time, but like pull up certain Instagram posts from people that I
yeah.
follow that's like, why are you posting that? Like you're not actually providing
Do you
any
have one that you
information.
could think of though, like off the top of your head?
I
It
have an
doesn't have to be
account.
the person. Yeah, you
I
don't
don't
have to
want to
do the
like
person. It's
blast
just
the
like,
person's
okay,
account.
fair.
But yeah, there's this like there's a lot. There's a lot out there. Or like, don't talk about sets and reps.
Yeah.
Like, don't. Just
Sets and reps.
you don't have to recite the CSCS handbook
Yeah.
manual, stuff like that. Other than that, I don't really know if I have much advice. Other than just keep posting and refine your content
Yeah. Yeah.
till
Make it
you're confident
unique.
and comfortable with it. Until you know, it took me years, dude. It took me a long time to get to where I'm at now. It's 2023 now, and I'm still kind of refining it a little bit,
Yeah.
but it's gonna your first month, 2 months, year maybe, first 2 years might suck. I don't know. Just keep posting. Oh, here's the other thing. Don't get discouraged if you get no interaction. You know,
Yeah, that's a big one.
like people might post 5 times, get no interaction, not get many likes, and then now they're like, well, shit, I'm people don't care what I have to say, and then they quit. It's like, no, 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 because one of these times, whatever the post you're gonna make, one of these times is gonna hit,
Yeah.
and then you gain some traction, you gain some following, you gain some confidence. Keep the ball rolling.
That's the biggest thing. I think I'm really happy you mentioned it too. Because I think what was it? I remember having a goal of like a subscriber goal for YouTube, whatever it was at the time. And then I remember I posted a video on like a thing that just happened in the world. And then that video like blew up. At least on for perspective, I think it was like I had only had like a couple hundred views on most of the videos, and then I had like, in the higher hundreds, couple in the thousand, and then this one was like I posted it, and then within 2 days it got to like 20,000, which
Yeah.
is just it was
Did your
crazy.
subscriber account spike a little bit too?
It doubled.
Yeah.
Literally went from
Yeah.
probably like 150 at the time to like almost four. And then
Yeah.
yeah, it dropped a bit, but it was still in the like the mid to late threes. So I was like, this is hilarious. Like this is
Yeah.
awesome. So I think it's those, yeah, and then that gave me more confidence, like, oh man, I should like we got something here. Like we can do
Right.
this. And the best part with those videos too, and I'm sure you've seen it like tenfold, but you get comments of more people saying what they want to see you talk
Yeah.
about,
Yep.
right?
Yeah. No, it's perfect because I get messages. I'll get messages saying, "Can you do a video on XYZ?"
Amazing.
Or I'll get a message of someone just asking me a question about training to help them, and then I'll just turn that question into a YouTube video. So like, it gives you content.
Yeah, it's like the whole adamant of, well, what is your audience? Like make stuff for your audience. And you're like, okay, but what is or who's your audience? You have to kind of figure that out in the early stages. But once you built that reputation a bit more and authority in the space, then people will give you things to talk about because they're like, hey, bring it this way, or you do the learning on this, or you share what your take is on this almost, which is it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool when that happens. It hasn't happened to me. It doesn't happen every day or every video, but pretty much every podcast, there's going to
Yeah.
be like different types of feedback, which is really cool. So it's cool you mentioned that with
Yeah.
the building confidence.
For sure.
So I want you to kind of take me through. Do you have like what's your take on the importance of incorporating play or fun activities during training?
Huge proponent of it for
Yeah.
everybody, for kids, for adults, for teenagers, for pro athletes. Yeah, huge proponent of it.
How would you define it? I want to extrapolate this a bit. How would you define like play, or like how would somebody go about incorporating play into their workouts or training sessions if they
Well,
don't?
I don't know how to define it. But incorporating it, I think it's really easy to incorporate. You just kind of like make that your warm up, I guess. So like I do some personal training or like some group training in my house for groups of 4 to 5 kids, like high school kids in the summers.
Yeah.
And we always, I guess I don't have a name for it, but I'll just call it like our athletic block for the first 10 to 15 minutes. And it's like I got spike ball. We'll go play spike ball for the first 10 to
Oh, that's a
15
good
minutes. That's
one.
their
Yeah.
warm up, but that's play. Or I'll even let them come up with some silly game that they want to do that involves athletic qualities, jumping, sprinting, throwing, dodging, anything like that. Um, like a great person to follow for like ideas on structuring play and incorporating play is Austin Yoakum.
Yeah.
Um, Go to his Instagram. It's like I've stolen so many things from him. But yeah, I think that's like the best way to incorporate it is as the warm up because then that for a few reasons, uh, you kind of get it out of the way. It kind of hypes people up for the rest of the training session. It if you want to go into like the science of it or whatever,
Yeah, sure.
it's gonna like stimulate the sympathetic nervous system to a greater degree than any other type of activity you want to do for a warm up. So yeah, that's how I'd incorporate it right in the beginning of the session.
I find in doing that, and I've started to incorporate it a bit more. And I've noticed it's a lot more, your brain seems focused a lot
Oh yeah,
more.
the level
It's
of brain
crazy.
activity is way higher when you do something like that.
Yeah, which is it almost felt weird to me. I was like so focused, but I wasn't trying to focus on it. right?
Right.
If that makes
Yes,
sense.
exactly.
I
Yeah, yeah,
can't
yeah.
quite explain that part scientifically, but I was like, oh, I'm playing, or I'm just playing catch on one footer, like we catch go, or like opposite, whatever it may be at the time, right? What we were doing. But I'm so locked in on something on the task, and I don't even notice it. It's not conscious. It's like an subconscious or unconscious focus that you're
Yeah.
doing.
And it'll potentiate you for like activities later in the session.
Yeah,
Like like you go play, have you ever played like knee tag? You know what knee tag is, or shoulder tag?
yeah,
It's like, yeah, something like that. You like one on one with somebody in a small little box. You do that for 10 to 15 minutes. And then you're gonna go lift. Like for some reason you feel stronger at like putting a bar on your back after that than if you're to do some like 8 minutes on an Aerodyne bike
yeah.
to get warmed up for the session.
Man, it's really cool. It has like a different way of like shooting your nervous system off, or at least like
Hmm.
everything. Or I guess is it more just your brain connecting to your like the rest of your body and everything and tapping into that more, or
Yeah,
trying to
I mean, I
understand
would
it?
just say, yeah, stimulating the sympathetic nervous
That
system
yeah,
is probably suffice to me.
best way to put it.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that, I found man, I'll play like we'll do like spike ball, but then that stuff turns into like 2 hours of playing, and then
Yeah.
it's just all right, here we go. But that's just more me and my friends. It's not so much like a problem that everybody's gonna face. So that's all right. Well,
Yeah.
we get through that one day at a time. But so, do you have a moment in your career so far that you're like the most proud of, or like an
Um,
achievement so far, or something that's like stood out to you that's like really like felt really good about?
no, I don't think so. But I think just like the consistency and the gradual um increase in size of my online business has been, I'm really like I'm pretty proud of that. Um, but as far as if I have to pick a certain moment, I think when I put out Haas Olympic
Mm,
over about a year ago now. Yeah, 11 months, June of 2022.
yeah.
When I put out Haas Olympic, that first day, I had just a ton of sales on it. And I think that gave me a lot of confidence too, because it's like, well, people actually do care what I have to say regarding training. So I put that out. I was really, yeah, I was really happy about that. And then that's still making sales to this day. So that's probably if I had to pick one moment, yeah.
Do you think, as kind of time goes on, do you think the need for in-person strength and conditioning coaches is going to go away, or do you think there'll always be a place? Because it sounds like a lot of every coach seems to be steering towards an online platform, or not, maybe not platform, but an online program or something like that. And I'm wondering if it's just eventually teams are just going to purchase this one and try the training, or if there is a room. Like, do you think it's something that's going to replace trainers?
I don't think so. I've thought about this too before. I
Nice.
don't think it will because there is still, you still, people who are training still want to be able to do things technically sound and technically
Uh,
proficient. So I
yeah,
guess depending on what the level of the athlete is in the weight room. So like, yeah, depending. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think it'll go away within like a team setting
right.
because administrators, sport coaches, general managers, those types of people are going to want someone who can coach a large group in and out of a session
Mhm.
efficiently. Um, can't really do that through AI at all. At least right now you can't. Um, but so no, I don't think it'll fully ever go away. But there's definitely been a shift that direction.
How did you originally get into football?
Like playing football,
Yeah.
I started playing when I was in eighth grade.
Oh
Um,
wow. Back
that's,
in
I
the
mean,
day.
that's, I don't know. I just, it looked fun. I wasn't, so in Minnesota, which is where I'm from, there's like a weight limit for each position. So like, I'm going to make up the numbers,
A
but
weight limit.
if you're like 185 pounds or heavier,
Yeah.
you can't be like a defensive back or a wide receiver. This is at like in
Yeah.
middle school or something at that age.
This is wild.
If you're like 200 pounds or heavier, you have to be like an offensive lineman or defensive lineman. It's something like that. So I was always above the weight limit. So I would have had to always be like an offensive lineman at that age. And then in eighth grade, the weight limit goes away.
Hmm.
So anybody can play any position. So then I still would have been above a weight limit if they had a weight limit at that
Yeah.
age. So that's when I decided to play, and uh, I played linebacker, and I think tight end at the time, or was I fullback? It doesn't matter. So I joined football when there was no more weight limit, so that I wasn't like constrained to a certain position. And then high school, obviously, there's no weight limit, so I just kept playing. I found out I was pretty good at it, good enough to get a scholarship to UND,
Mhm.
and I mean that's how I got into it. Yeah, I just like sports, so it was a fun sport to play.
Nice. Do you have like one kind of piece of whether it be advice or lesson or thing that stood out with you or for you from your life? Like it could be experience or an experience or something like that related to anything. This doesn't necessarily have to be strength and conditioning or coaching or anything related.
Um, can you rephrase that question a little bit?
Yeah. Do you have a experience or a lesson you learned that you would pass on to somebody? Like it could be from all of your life up to now.
Um, I think I probably can give some advice, but not necessarily a lesson. If you can separate those two, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's just like don't be a conformist. Like always, it sounds kind of cliche to like say, oh, you should question everything. Like there's truth to it, but it's also cliche and kind of sounds dumb to me. But like, don't just assume something is right because that's what the social group's doing or that's
Right.
what the authority figures are saying. Um, Often we should trust authority figures because they're authority figures for a reason, but like obviously people get things wrong. But yeah, don't be a conformist. Think for yourself. Um, Find trusted individuals that you can rely on to help guide certain decision making. That'd be it.
Nice. Now, I was going to wrap up. Where can people find you? Where can people connect with you? Where can people see your stuff, get your stuff? A bit
Yeah,
more.
Instagram. It's always just going to be my name. So just search my name, Will Ratelle on Instagram or YouTube. My website should just be my name, but it's kind of dumb. It's W2 performance. People it gets confused with like taxes, like
Yeah.
W2 forms. But yeah, W2 performance is my website, and then my name
Yeah.
on Instagram and YouTube. I just started going on Twitter. I hadn't really used Twitter much until like the last 3 weeks. I started on Twitter. So just search my name there. But yeah, that's kind of it.
Right on. Well, with that, man, I really appreciate your time today. I had fun picking your brain, stuff like that, and just asking stuff that a handful of people have mentioned to me about wanting to bring up to you and stuff like that, and then things that I was really curious in. So I'm just, yeah, man, I really appreciate your time. So thank you very much for chatting with me today, brother.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Right on.